the capacity specialist. In fact, it has been a year and a half since the pandemic that I come to Cambodia. Since 2017, on average, I would come to Cambodia every month, spend 3 weeks in Malaysia, where I'm from, and then 1 week in Cambodia. So I miss my team over there. I miss my hotel. I miss the food in Cambodia. And I hope after all of this is settled, I get to come back. But for now, you will have to contend with having me in Malaysia, and then me running webinars like this with you. So we do these learning and development webinars for our clients, for our facilitators, for anybody who's interested, even if you're not our client, because we as TCS, we want to add value into the market. We want to be able to help raise the level of learning and development in Cambodia. And we want to be able to help you in your organizations to be able to build a learning culture. And that's very important, because when you have a learning culture, then what happens is you get to actually impact your productivity, you get to impact your performance. And that's the main drive, what we do. So we meet with training managers, we meet with traders, we meet with CEOs, we meet with business owners to see what we can do to help you to raise that level of performance. Because we believe that what you want to achieve depends on what you do every single day, right? So there's a maxim somewhere that if you want to know how far you can go, do an audit of what you do every single day. Is it something that brings benefit or not? Is it something that can help you build skills, build relationships, build cash flow, or things like that? And if you find that in there, there's a lot of non-value activities, things that don't actually help, you're wasting time. You're not investing time, you're not spending time, you're wasting time. So we try and help you to cut those out. So that can happen either at the individual basis where we coach you. It can happen at a bit of a larger basis where we run courses and you come to the courses, or we do longer efforts with a workshop plus coaching or a project. So that's what we do at TCS. And a little bit about today, we're going to be talking about how you can create a learning culture in your organization. And what is a learning culture? We'll come to that a little bit later. So very quickly, my name is Nadzrin again. Nice to see you here. I am a partner with the company, learning the capacity specialist. So if you need to reach out to us, Maradi is here. You can certainly get in touch with her for any sort of workshop, any sort of project that you require help with. So let's kick it off. First off, let's share with you what we intend to do with you today. By the end of this hour, okay, I'm going to do my best. I want you to be able to identify the important components of a learning culture, which means that you will have the ability at the end of this to look at your organization and go, okay, oh, I have this, oh, we have this, oh, we don't have this. All right, so that's something that you want to put into action to be able to create that learning culture. And then number two, because it's a short session, it's just an hour, then the best we can aim for is for you to begin planning to implement what elements or what best practices I can do in my company, whether it's a small thing within a department, or we try and roll out one small thing across everyone, right? So maybe you want to roll out, okay, every Friday, you're going to take 30 minutes off at this point in time to go and read something, or to go and watch something, or go and do something that will better your task, or things like that. Very small ideas. So you can do this, right? By the end of this hour, we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask me any questions. I am not a super expert, I'll have to admit that, but I do have experience that I can share with you. So if you ask me any questions that are outside of my field of knowledge, I have friends. I have consultant friends and trainer friends and friends in the industry who I can leverage on to give you that answer, maybe in an email later on, okay? So, or we get in touch and we can actually help you answer that question. Why? Why am I not an expert? Because I don't have expertise in all industries. And all of you come from many different industries where L&D is applied differently. Okay, so first off, let's do a bit of an activity in the chat. Otherwise, it'll be a one-way webinar and you get bored listening to me. My question to you, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Tell me in the text chat, describe for me What is your dream learning culture in your organization? What if you could, wish for something, what would that dream learning culture look like? So don't give me one word or two words or three words. Give me a full sentence. And that's why I'm giving you 3 minutes to think and write. Okay? Your 3 minutes start now. Please tell me in the chat. What is your dream learning culture? When I see the first one pop up, then I'll attend to that while we wait for the rest. Here we go. What is your dream learning culture in your organization? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So for those who just popped in, this is the question for you. In your organization, I'm sure you're looking for a learning culture. You want the ability for your people to learn on their own. You want your people to improve drastically so that they can do their jobs. So describe for me that dream learning culture that you want. All right, let's see what's coming. I did ask for not just one word, so a lot of people are typing, I can see. All right, let me just admit. So while we're waiting for some answers, let's go through and say good morning, Fala. Good morning, Sofa. Good morning, Pon from A Plus Consulting. Good morning, Sukantia. Good morning, Puntiara. Good morning, Cho. I know you. Good morning. Hello, Sifa. Good morning, Simam. Hi, Janara. I know you too. Hello, Tiang Liho. Ah, Lin. I think you have been for some of our webinars before. Hello, good morning, Firon. We have Gwech from Mega Asset. We have Savda. Thank you. We have Long D. Hello, On. Wait a minute. I thought you introduced yourself already. Hello, Ronita. Good morning, Chanting. And good morning, Santia. Good morning, Otab. Lin Pham said good morning again. You're from Fiji. Okay, Yadra, Yadra. All right, so Sifa has started answering. From my personal point of view, from staff to management, there's a clear learning path for them. That's right. So just like a career path, you have a learning path, you know exactly what you need to learn year on year. And just like your university, right? What you learn in year one, what you learn in year two, and so on and so forth. And I think the idea here is that you create learning paths so that you prepare them for the next level of their job. You prepare them for the next level of competency. Okay, number two, Sifa says, managers spend time to coach the staff a specific skill. That's right. The challenge, of course, is that in most job descriptions, we don't include this, but we expect it to happen. So, and also we don't prepare our managers to be able to coach, don't have that skill set, but we want them to coach. So one of the things a lot of companies have done is that in the job description, in the actual advertisement for the job, right, out there, they tell them you'll be expected to do this as well. You'll be expected to coach your people. And we'll share with you. We'll share with you how, we'll train you how to do this. Okay, Chili says, the answer for me is work environment. That's right. So a learning culture is about environment. And if you're the only one who's a good learner, everyone else says, no, don't waste your time. That's not going to be conducive anyway. You're right. Thank you. One says participants are willing to and be ready to join the training. They insist at more trainings and cross-training culture. That's right. Okay. Well, I think we talked about this a while ago if you came for that webinar. So cross-training culture is when you within your department teach each other, or between departments teach each other your best practices. Okay, so Mali, if you can mute some of our friends, they might have some background noise. Thank you. Lian says, what is EEs? I could misunderstand. I'm sorry. So EEs concentrate and aware by themselves on their employment, on their own development, by self-learning and willing to join assigned courses. All right. So willingness to join also has to do with the quality of the training that you give, right? I have seen companies where participants say, we are not actually looking forward to training. And I go, why? Well, because the training is all nonsense. it's all just it's worthless. So that falls back to L&D to choose the right kind of training and the right kind of trainers to make sure that people don't fall asleep or, worse, they don't get any benefit out of it. Okay, Liho says, my dream culture in organization is where employees continuously share, learn, and seek new knowledge. Also, employees are open-minded to learn new things to keep up with the trend. Thank you for that. Sovirak says, my dream learning culture, the culture of knowing, then sharing with lifelong learning toward the career pathway. This is what I love about L&D people, right? You are focused on education. You love education and you love seeing people develop and benefit. Sifa says L&D alone cannot make the learning culture. There we go. You have basically taken over the webinar because this is the key message. All stakeholders should be accountable for it. It is not only L&D's job. L&D's job is to guide it, but everybody must do it. That's what we call a culture. It cannot be forced on the people. People must develop it. They must create it on their own. They must, be able to contribute to it. So it is not a top-down thing. That's going to be very challenging. So Kaptia says, everyone need to join self-learning at least one per month. Okay, so we talk about the structure. Altaf says, learning culture highly depends on how the C-suite executive promotes and walk the talk about learning. That's right. We find that in some organizations, training manager and below, there's a lot of championing and consistency, but then we go up into leadership and it looks like leadership is not supporting. An example such as, well, they tell us that we must have a learning culture, but they will not invest in it. So they find that when times are tough, the first thing to go is the budget for learning. I'll repeat that. When times are tough, when the economy is bad, when the business is bad, the first thing to go is the budget for learning. And this, I understand, L&D people, I fully understand where you're coming from, because sometimes we have not made it important enough. We have not explained it that it's important enough that you must invest in this. And this is not just your company, it's every company on this planet. They see learning or training, once upon a time, training as a cost. So training center is a cost center. It's not a profit center, of course. But they think that it's a black hole that you throw money into, or because government says you must send people for training, therefore we send. And then because you're going for training, that means we lose 2 days of work time. They don't see the investment. And I'll say this to you, right? This is something I learned at Accenture where I worked at. We tend to consult with clients and we tell them one very simple thing. We have good data, good numbers, good research to tell you that what you send people for training today impacts them 5 years down the line. Why? Because it takes about 5 years to master a skill. And when I say master, what I'm saying is today you learn how to ride a bicycle. 5 years later, you can do. You can join the X Games. You can join the Olympics, the gymnastics of bicycling. That's what I mean by master. It means that you already own the knowledge. You know how to apply it in different situations. So we do see this, right? At the bottom, we're very gung-ho about learning and development, but then the C-suite doesn't seem to want to invest or spend. And one of the solutions that people have come up with is to actually install a chief learning officer, actually have at the C-suite level, someone who monitors the return on investment on training. But then that becomes more challenging because you have to focus more on the measurement now to make sure that your budget is justified year on year. All right, thank you, Ata, for that. Okay, Pun says where everyone is willing to share what they have and everyone is able to ask, hey, I want to improve myself in this area for better work performance. All right. Okay, learning culture where individuals are able to see what's in it for me, benefit. That's right. Ranina says, my dream learning culture is in environment, sharing, helping, and get more training that relate to my role. Thank you. Oh, Altaf, you're just going off on this, right? Post-pandemic organizations, post-pandemic organizations have taken off L&D from their priorities when they should promote more focus on mental awareness and psychological safety. Yes, you're right. The idea here is that when we come up against a new crisis, a new problem, the moment we get stuck, okay, there are a few reasons for it. The moment we get stuck is usually because we don't know how to deal with it. We don't have prior knowledge, prior experience, prior skills to make the right decisions at that point in time. So what do? We freeze. We freeze. So either that happens at L&D level, okay, we've never seen this happen before, we don't know what to do, therefore we just stop doing. At the employee level, when they work from home, they go, I don't know how to handle this, so I'll just turn off my camera and I disconnect from my boss or disconnect from my company because I don't know how to handle this. Okay. This, however, is a transition period. So in my opinion, things will get better as people become more and more used to it. In fact, I just read an article yesterday. People are resigning from companies because companies in the West, in America especially, forcing their staff to come back to work. They now see the benefit of working from home. They now see that, hey, you don't actually need me at the office, and I can still do the same amount of work with the same amount of quality or a little bit better. You don't actually need me in the office. I can see that now. There's evidence there. So I'm not coming back. And there's been people resigning because they don't want to come back to the office. And that's something that HR needs to think about. Okay. Men says, sorry, Chansukari says, my dream learning culture is where all employees openly share knowledge, experience each other. Also seek what employees need to learn more for improvement, helping, friendly. Nice. And Sifa's going strong, and any learning culture is not just from the learning function, from the staffs. Need to do the paced learning or learning every time through the mistake or reflect from their project. What shall we do with this to let them aware of it, especially management? Guys, I don't know why you're here today because you already know this stuff. So let me give you a bit of a structure around that so you can think through it. Thank you very much for all of that. I'm actually going to save all of this because these are fantastic, fantastic answers, and I'm going to use them in my future webinars. I'm going to say this is what you guys have said, and it forms the backbone of what we're talking about today. All right. So what is learning culture? It is based on a concept called the learning organization, and it was very, very popular in the 80s and the 90s, but it seemed to have fizzled out for a while, and now it's back. Okay, so this is a book. Let me ask first, how many people are familiar with this book? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no in the chat. How many people are familiar with this book? It's called The Fifth Discipline by Peter M. Senge. No, no, no. Okay. L&D people, this book is a very old book. It was published in the 1990s, but I recommend that you get this book, PDF or printed or secondhand, whatever. I recommend you get this book because Peter M. Senge sort of kicked off this revolution to prove to organizations it is worth investing in learning. It is worth investing in learning. What he says is that companies focus on the cash flow because the cash flow keeps the organization alive. But they don't focus on the learning flow because the learning flow is what grows the organization, right? So if you want to grow, you don't need only cash flow, you need the learning flow. And he says that many, many times in his book. And one particular quote I like, he says, we will never transform the prevailing system of management without transforming our prevailing system of education. And he's not talking about education, government education sector, schools. No, he's talking about inside the organization. He says they are the same system. They're exactly the same system. They are part and parcel of each other. So we talk about cash flow, we talk about learning flow, both come together. Any organization that prioritizes only cash flow and not the learning flow is going to not grow very fast, or they find it very frustrating. Why don't their people try out new things? Well, because you don't allow them to learn new things. All right. So I highly recommend this book. I'm not too sure whether I can find it in PDF. It is a thick book. I think it's about, wait, do I have it here? I do right there. So there you go. So, oh great, you can't see that. So it's called The Fifth Discipline. It is 424 pages long. It's 424 pages long. So I don't know if I find it in PDF form. I can certainly try, but this is something you really want to take a look at. Okay, so L&D people, this is still like the Bible of L&D, even though this book was published in what, 1990. Yeah, it was published in 1990, and I remember very clearly. I was having breakfast with my wife. I sent her to work, and then before that we had breakfast together at a small cafe, and I had this book on the table. There's this man sitting next to me, let's say next to us at the table. He said, "That's a very good book." And I go, "Okay, thank you." I found out later he was a retired CEO from a large Malaysian organization. I should, I should have, I should have had that conversation with him, but no, I let it go. All right. So, I recommend this book because it's required reading, I would say, for L&D people. It's something that will change your mind. It will help you change your C-suite mind if you have that ability. Okay. So that's one. Actually, there's another one I would recommend, but I don't have it right now. I'll tell you a bit later when I find it. Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of learning culture, we have a few models that we can show you, but quite a lot of them are complex and very academic and stuff like that. If you want to go to your C-suite, you want to go to your leadership and talk about implementing a learning culture, then what you do is we're going to use this one from Microsoft. So when oh my God, what's his name? Uh, who's the CEO of Microsoft? Satya Nadella. When Satya Nadella took over as CEO of Microsoft, he made a lot of changes. And one of those changes was implementing a learning culture, something that did not exist in a set form before him. So what did he do? He implemented a four-angle approach. Okay, and this by far is the simplest model to teach. Four-angle approach. He, number one, provided resources and development opportunities. Look at the word opportunities. Yeah, it fulfills the what's in it for me. It is not just here's a resource, right? Here's something for you to develop yourself. No, these are opportunities. They are framed as benefits. They are framed as good things, not just, okay, it's there if you want it. Not like that. And then they managed to get the managers to be involved over the long term, which means that it is now part of the manager's job. Nowhere can the manager just say, okay, this was not in my job description. It is not part of my job anymore. So what they did was they actually went back into the job descriptions and they implemented this at every level, every level. They have moments of sharing and learning from others. So they've instituted like communities of practice where within the organization, if you're an engineer, then you can actually sit in the same, let's give an example of a Telegram group, right? You can sit in the same Telegram group with engineers from other departments and you share your best practices, whether it be an administration best practice or it can be an analysis best practice, a solution best practice, whatever it is that you do, you share, because often you think, I'm trying to figure this out. So we reinvent the wheel. We try and create a new solution, whereas in the organization, there could be already a solution, but it's never been documented, it's never been shared. So sharing and learning from others helps you to understand different ways of doing things. And last but not least is learning agility, the ability to learn fast, the ability to apply quickly. And in some companies, they call this as just in time, just for me, and just enough. Okay, you want to write that down. So some of the newer efforts in L&D is we give you snackables or micro learning that you require. For example, I'll give you one example, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know that when you are playing your slides full screen in PowerPoint, tell me how would you, if you were projecting onto a screen, okay? So this is a practical question. If you're projecting your PowerPoint slides onto a screen, onto a projection screen, right? And you wanted the audience to not see the slides anymore, you just wanted them to look at you. So how would you have the screen go blank? Tell me in the chat. I hope you understand that because it's easier to demonstrate face to face. How would you want the screen to go blank? How do you normally do that? How do you make sure that the projection isn't up there anymore without turning off the projector, of course, because it takes time to turn on again. All right, so Vivek has answered with something. Anyone else? Altab says, I honestly don't know. Or something to take away. Anyone? All right, well done. So look at this, right? 4 people have now dropped something in the chat, which Altab, he says, I honestly don't know, something to take away, which means that before this, Altab, I did not know this before. And now, as a result of me just asking one question, you now have one piece of knowledge you can take away. Imagine if you did that every single day in your organization, sharing something that you thought was, I think everybody knows this, but apparently not everybody knows this. Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. If you don't want people to see your slides, now the requirement is must be in full screen, right? If it is in, this version, oh, sorry, I accidentally stopped sharing. Okay. So if it's in this version, then you cannot use that function. But when you go full screen and you press B, the screen goes black. The screen goes black. So next question is, guys, what if you want the screen to go white? Tell me in the chat. What if you want the screen to go white? Hey, thank you very much. So Pingwei has given us a link. I think he's found it. Let's see if that works. Okay, I'll test it out later, but maybe you can download that. Okay, second question. What if you want the screen to go white? Thank you so much for that. I'm really enjoying today. Okay, so Virak has gone W. Anyone else? What if you want the screen to go white? Okay, Lonely says B. B goes black. Okay, so you can see, oh, sorry. B goes black. All right. And W goes white. Now, this is so simple, something simple that you can learn that actually a lot of trainers don't know. Actually, a lot of people who do presentations don't know. So if you assume, oh, it must be common knowledge. The fact is, Altaf says, I've never known this. So you have the opportunity to teach people things that are within your knowledge and you think is common knowledge, but the fact is it's not. It is not. Right? And I'll tell you this, I use Microsoft Word a lot, but I did not know Microsoft Word can make movies. Did you guys know that? You can actually make movies using Microsoft Word. I thought you could make movies using PowerPoint. That's true. You can save your PowerPoint as a movie file. I did not know you can do the same with Microsoft Word, which blows my mind. Okay. Okay, Londi, you say I'm confused. Would you like to turn on your microphone and share with us? What do you mean by that? Are you saying you are confused? Londi, you can turn on your microphone. What is M? M, are you saying that I should press the M button? Nothing does nothing. All right. So these at a high level is what Microsoft has implemented. And as you can see, there are 3 levels. Yeah. 3 levels: values, processes, and practices. Now, models are nice. I think you know this. Models are pretty and nice. The actual application, that's where the pain comes in. So idea is, do you have the values in place? And when I say values, not core values sitting on the wall behind the receptionist, that's just on paper. No, do your people have those values? Because if you don't inculcate those values in the first place, you're not going to see them out there in practice on a daily basis. Number 2, do you create structures in terms of processes? Do you have in your SOPs, right, learning processes that help them to do that? Do you have that? If not, then it cannot support the values, right? You can have values all you want, but if you don't have a proper structure to support it, then it will die. Values will die. And last but not least, how about the practices? Practices is not like practice riding a bike. No, practice in the sense of this is what you do every single day. And if you don't have the processes, the SOPs to support the practices will die as well. Okay, it's just like, you want to grow a tomato plant. I have a couple of tomato plants. I hope you grow a tomato plant, but you don't provide a support. You don't provide a stick for it to grow onto, then it's going to die very soon. We have a lot of crawling plants in my house. So we plant it next to the fence, so it crawls on the fence. Imagine if the support was not there, it just crawls on the ground and it does nothing. All right, so let's deep dive into some practical applications, shall we? But before that, let's go for questions. What questions do you have? All right, Altaf has the first question. Can you please emphasize more on processes and SOPs? Well, I can emphasize in the next few slides. However, I can give you examples and I can give you case studies and I can give you some structures. But because today is a very short day, we might not have enough time for that. Altaf, you can certainly reach out to us, send us an email, And if you want to know more, I'll be happy to have that conversation with you. All right. So let's take a look at some case studies. The first case study, and unfortunately, I don't have anything from Cambodia. These are Malaysian case studies. We have UEM, which is United Engineers Malaysia. It is an engineering company that does a lot of work for in oil and gas and the automotive industry. So UEM owns the Toyota license in Malaysia to produce Toyota cars and parts. They also have the license by Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce, the car maker, but actually produce jet engines. So yes, UEM produces jet engine parts components in Malaysia. So this is a huge company, and what they've done is they set up two different types of training centers. Yeah, the first one they call the UEM Leadership Center, and here what they've done is they actually run bachelor programs, not just training, not like 2-day, 3-day training. What they've done is they have gone to training providers and trainers, and they said, we want to engage you over a long term. Okay, so what's happened now is UEM has tied up with the university, and that university has given us measured our competencies, what we want our people to be competent in, and we have an outline of courses that we want you to run. So you have to submit to us these courses. We submit to the university. They will see whether it's good quality enough. And then the university and us will build a bachelor degree program, a master degree program based on you training provider, you trainers externally, third party, build it together with us. And we're going to run this forever for all of our staff. So any of our staff who wants to take a bachelor degree, any of our staff who wants to take a master's degree, whenever they go for training in their learning path, remember we talked about learning path early on, if they follow their learning path all the way to the end, they will actually get a master's degree for free. They get a bachelor's degree for free. But everything they learn in there is actually relevant to their competency, actually relevant to the company. Now, imagine you working at this company, you have worked for 2 years, and then you get an offer from another company to join them. Let's just say the difference in salary is not that much. Would you actually leave UEM? Give me a yes or no. If you were working for UEM and you were taking your master's degree, your bachelor's degree, would you actually leave UEM? Tell me yes or no. No way. Hey, I get work here, I get a free master's degree. However, because of the time framing, right? So it doesn't normally take 4 years for a bachelor's degree. It could take slightly longer, maybe 5 or 6 years, because you still have your actual work to do. So this is what they've done, and for a while, that was what I was doing. In 2006 to 2008, I was training at the UEM Leadership Center, fulfilling my niche, which was a report writing it was a boardroom. Oh my God, I can't remember. Boardroom papers writing and report writing. So I taught them specifically how to do that, and that became the credit hours for their bachelor degree. So whoever came for my course, that would become the credit hours for their bachelor. And they put a lot of money into Leadership Center. It's a beautiful center. The environment is very conducive. It's amazing. It's amazing. And they have quotes by Peter F. Drucker hanging off the walls, off the ceiling everywhere. So it's an amazing environment, but it's focused on their leadership. So certain grade in the organization and above. Now, the grade below, where they actually do engineering work, they actually do, technical work on a daily basis, that they have the UEM Learning Center. And over there, they actually teach the new engineering that they have come up with. So remember, UEM is not just a company, they also have their own internal R&D. So whatever new things, new engineering things that they've come up with, they also cascade there, and also the skills development. So they have a very clear idea of a leadership center, which is more towards soft skills, and they have a learning center which is more towards technical skills. So don't get confused by the terminology. That's how they've divided up. But to be fair, both learning centers are in the same compound, same campus. It's just different buildings, but they eat at the same place anyway, same canteen, so they get to mingle. And recently, I was involved in this effort. They contracted the Melbourne Business School, and I do work for the Melbourne Business School as well. So what we're doing now is, because of the pandemic and because they are moving to a new office, and that new office is very, very far away from the current office. It's about 40 kilometers away. So there's a drop in motivation. And this is not PNC, don't worry. It's public knowledge. They've actually published it online, published their effort online to recruit people in the new area. And guess what? This new office, this new center is near where I live. So if you think of provinces in Cambodia, I live in a bit provincial area away from Kuala Lumpur. I'm about 35 kilometers away from Kuala Lumpur. So they're building their new center very close to where I am. And Melbourne Business School is helping with getting them ready for that shift. So shifting in growth mindset, getting ready to go and, okay, I used to travel 4 kilometers to work. Now I have to travel 30 kilometers to work. So getting them ready for that shift. So this is what they do. They provide that structure, right? When we talk about SOPs, they provide that structure for the learning, and it is a structure that not many organizations can replicate. Why? It's very difficult. You want to do a bachelor's degree program? Well, that's very difficult. But they also do what MBS does for them is provide overall resilience training. The whole organization gets to prepare for the move. So that's one. Second one is, if you know this company, it's in Malaysia, it's called Petronas. It is our national oil and gas, the leading oil and gas company in Malaysia, and was set up in the 1970s. It is now the biggest contributor to the Malaysian economy because we have oil and gas in our areas. Okay, and what they do is they have the Petronas Leadership Center, where every member of Petronas in the leadership teams, management and above, they get taught leadership and coaching skills. And this is not like one-off 2-day programs. No, this program lasts years, and they have a learning path for their coaching scale: basic coaching, leadership coaching, performance coaching, what do they call this? Solution-focused coaching. They just have coaching. And what that's done is improve employee morale through the roof. And Petronas is required because why? It holds up the rest of the country. So if Petronas doesn't do well, Malaysia doesn't do well. So that's Leadership Center. What they do similarly with UAM, they have an institute called INSTEP. I can't remember the institute, something petroleum. And they actually have a refinery. It's a refinery school. They built an oil and gas refinery within INSTEP. It's a working refinery where their employees train there. So rather than you go to a real refinery where the safety levels it's like very different, you train in INSTEP where it's safer. So you got all the machinery, all of the refinery, all of it's there. And they do all of that there. This one is separate because Petronas Leadership Center is in Kuala Lumpur, but INSTEP is in Terengganu, about hundreds of kilometers away, where it's actually near an actual refinery, so they can send the materials and stuff like that. Last but not least, we talk about structure, is they have something called Apex. And Apex is a website within Accenture where every piece of their knowledge is dropped in there. So if they have completed a project and they got insights on the project, what did we learn from this? It's inside Apex. So when you want to start a new project, you can actually go into Apex, find the relevant one that relates to your project, gain insight from that before you start your project. So you're learning from the knowledge and wisdom from the people before you. Okay. So last one I kept last but not least, this is Accenture. Accenture was where I worked for 7 years. It's a consulting company. It has 500,000 staff. So I was specifically in a unit. I can't call it a unit. I was in a division called Accenture Learning. And Accenture Learning had 5 learning centers globally. I was based in the Kuala Lumpur Learning Center, where we process all of the participants from ASEAN, China, India, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand sometimes, and sometimes even the Middle East. So they would come to our learning center. So what we do there is, because Accenture tends to be more consultants, So we have what we call professional schools. And professional schools, you learn project management, you learn client engagement, you learn program management, you learn technology architecture school, technology integrated architecture school. I can't remember, that was many years ago. But the one thing that they do is they cascade learning. And this is what we call professional faculty. So I want you guys to imagine in your organization, when your people go for training, they don't go for a 2-day training. They go for 1 week training or 2 weeks training. And what they found is that this is equivalent to actually immersing themselves in the knowledge. 2 days is not enough if some of these topics. But you as a consultant or you as a manager or senior manager, part of your KPI is to take 1 week off, 1 week every year to go to one of these 5 learning centers to teach. I'll repeat that. Yeah, if you're a manager or senior executive, one of your KPIs is to take 1 week off to go to any of these 5 learning centers globally and teach and become professional faculty. So what do you teach? Well, if it's a seminar, you can teach from your own experience. But if it's a course, when you come, if you want to teach the course Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday before that, you will sit with me and I will train you how to teach the course. In 2 days, I'll show you the course. Okay, these are the slides, these are the activities, and this is where you can share your experience in these activities or in these slides. So you just teach the slides, you teach the course, you run these activities, but more importantly, share your experience in the course. So every member within Accenture has the opportunity to not only teach at their project site, their people on a day-to-day basis, they actually take a week off and they do this. They teach as professional faculty, okay? And then the next one is we have KX. Now, KX is called Knowledge Exchange. Actually, Apex in Petronas was set up by Accenture based on KX. So what I just said Apex does, KX does as well. Every piece of knowledge that they have from 1955 when they were founded up until today is in KX in categories by industry. So if you are jumping onto an oil and gas project, but you actually are from a telecommunications project, oil and gas is not your expertise. So you can upskill really fast by going into the KX, looking through the project documents, okay? They have been sanitized. So any sensitive information, any PNC information has been taken out, but you have the insights, what mistakes to avoid in the future for these kinds of projects, so that you don't make your own, you make new mistakes. Every time you make a new mistake, you update KX with it. So the problem with KX is there's a lot of information there. The solution is proper categorization, proper knowledge management. And this is why sometimes when we implement this at companies don't do the due diligence. They just dump in PowerPoint slides. And then they say, oh, the KX doesn't work. Well, it's not because KX doesn't work. Your data hygiene is bad. You don't know how to manage the information right. Okay. And then last one is VPP alignment, which is values, processes. Values, processes, and procedures. Values, processes, and procedures. Values are what we actually imbibe. Okay, what we hold in our hearts, and processes is what happens on a daily basis in the organization. Procedures is what they do. So Accenture has 6 core values. I'm trying to remember. Client value creation, one global network, respect for the individual, best people, integrity, and stewardship. Okay, still remember, thank God. These core values are embedded in every training program they do. Okay, so if you come for, say, a project management school, in the program, they talk about integrity. They talk about when clients ask for something like a change, okay, and you go, that's not going to be possible, so you have to stand your ground. But in the course, you don't see the word integrity. You don't see the word stewardship or best people. It's built into the course itself so that it develops the core value in you as you are attending the training. Okay. Also in rewards and remunerations, because HR is involved, what happens is, Savira, I'm sorry. Savira, your microphone is on. So okay, I'm gonna have to ask my host. Already, can you please mute Savira because we can hear him. You muted me as well. Okay. So at every level, including performance management, including rewards and remunerations, those 6 core values exist. They are cascaded down. You see them everywhere. You see them in training, you see them in your performance management, you see them in your rewards and remunerations, and you see them in your learning and performance strategies. So I hope this gives you an idea of what happens at large organizations. These are crazy large, right? There are thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. What can you do in your organization if it is a lot smaller? Well, even Microsoft, even Accenture, even Petronas, even UAM, when they implemented the same way according to the same principles. Okay, so the first one is all provide resources and development opportunities. What is a resource? It is the ability to access knowledge. Okay, so you want to be able to capture and curate knowledge from people, projects, and practices. Now, this can be slightly challenging if you don't know what you're looking for. But rather than bring in trainers from the outside to tell your people what you should be doing, okay, why not go into the successes? Go and capture from the older people, the elders, the senior people, the people who are highly experienced, document that so that it becomes your unique company knowledge. Number two, create an accessible library like the KX, like the Apex. And now with content management systems, blogs or things like that, you can certainly do so. My only requirement from you is that categorize it well with proper labeling, proper tags, so it's easy to find. Index it well, okay? And learning and performance, analyze core and functional learning needs and create learning blueprint for live learning and self-study approaches. Okay, so you guys know this already. What you do here is you provide courses that they can learn live, that is synchronous, or they can learn not live, self-study on their own. And if you provide these two, then it is easier for them to want to do things. Why is it that people, when they want to fix a roof, they don't call a plumber, they don't call a roofman, they can go to YouTube and learn, because they have that ability to self-study. So within your organization, whatever you curate, that knowledge that you curate, make sure it is relevant to the work. Okay, it's not something too generic from the outside, something that is specific to how you do work. And what will happen? You will have created a knowledge repository that is unique and fits your organization perfectly. Because a lot of times when trainers come in, they don't understand your organization. I'll tell you, as a trainer myself, we don't understand your organization 100%. We try our best, but internally, if you can do this, you would have already created that structure. You would have created that opportunity for your people. Number two, managers' involvement. You can't run away from this because you need to have champions. So coaching is important. If I were to say, okay, guys, you want to send your people for leadership training, management training, blah, 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 stuff like that. If you just send them for coaching training, you teach them how to coach, you can raise your performance by more than 50%. You can raise your employees' performance by more than 50%. Why? Because management is tiring. It is watching and controlling and then checking and then rechecking. Coaching is giving your employees the ability to be independent. And here's the best part. Coaching doesn't take a lot of time. If you coach someone for more than 30 minutes, that's not coaching. Okay? So coaching doesn't take a lot of time. It can go from 1 minute to 30 minutes, but 30 minutes is about the max, because after that you start to lose focus. So if you were to ask me what is the one thing I can do right now, implement coaching culture. Get people to learn coaching and implement on a daily basis. Not mentoring. Mentoring is tiring. Mentoring is giving advice, trying to solve a problem for them. Coaching is asking powerful questions to get the employee to become independent of you so that they can do their own work. Mentoring is the second one, which is a bit more difficult, but here you cascade your experience and findings to your people. So here they need to learn storytelling. They need to learn what experience they have matches the current problem. The issue with mentoring is sometimes mentors tell stories that have no relationship to the problem whatsoever, and then they just go off on a tangent, and they try to apply old solutions to new problems, which might not work. Okay? And number three, this is something that must happen in any organization. You must allow for mistakes in growth phases. My teacher used to say to me, when I made a mistake, I said, teacher, I'm sorry, I did this. And he says, that's okay. You're still a student. And I go, oh, okay, that makes me feel better. Students need to make mistakes. So if you as a manager, you know that your people are going through a growth phase, then mistakes are necessary as long as they are debriefed. Okay? Don't go. So there's three options. Number one, somebody make a mistake. Why did you make the mistake? You scold. Second option is you ignore. Oh, you made a mistake. Okay, okay. And you walk off. The third option is, okay, treat the mistake as an opportunity for learning. Let's sit down. Now you tell me how you're going to avoid this mistake in the future. So three options. Option number one is easy because it's emotional. Option number two is also easy because you just ignore, but it creates a secondary problem. The mistake will happen again and again and again. The third one is you actually say, okay, we acknowledge this mistake. We acknowledge the mistake was not because of something you purposely intended. That's why it's called a mistake. Okay, so we acknowledge it's not purposely done. So now you tell me, how can you fix it now? And how can you avoid it in the future? Okay, if you sit down and do that with every time there's a mistake, then you will reduce the amount of mistakes in the future, number one. Number two, it actually saves time, because if this mistake keeps popping up again and again and again, it becomes expensive. So that's manager's involvement. Number three, learning agility. Okay, allow for specialization and expertise. There are people who want to become better, and it's not just about becoming. I'll give you this example, right? When someone does a routine job, too routine, what happens is they get bored with the job. They don't get challenged. They don't have new things to do. They will still want to do something that increases mastery. So what do? They go home and they play video games, or they practice their guitar, because they cannot get better at work, so they have to get better at something. This is what normal human beings do. They will find something to get better at. They'll play Candy Crush on their phone. They will, I don't know, they will create YouTube videos just so they can get better at it. But if you don't allow that to happen at work, then it's going to be challenging. Number two, autonomy. Encourage innovation and improvement. Wherever you see what the Japanese do very well, that we are still trying to learn, they have suggestion boxes for their employees to give suggestions on improvements on processes, improvements on the way people work. And these suggestion boxes are actually read. Yeah, the Japanese leadership actually take it, they open and they read. In Malaysia, the suggestion box is like a trash can. Nobody opens it, nobody reads it. So in the end, it doesn't work anyway. Okay, so who knows the work best? It is your people. And who can give the best solutions? It is your people. And last but not least is purpose. Provide nobility in growth. What does it mean? Well, if they can see that you are getting them to learn because you want them to make more money for them, they might not want to learn. But if you can show them that what they do contributes to what the organization does, and every organization contributes to the country, contributes to society in meaningful ways. Petronas, for example, you know one thing about Petronas staff, which is interesting to me. I attended a couple of the events, and we had dinner in a huge ballroom. I was one of their vendors. And at the beginning of the dinner, you know what they did? They played the national anthem. Now, yes, Petronas belongs to the government, but I've never seen that at government events. They played the national anthem. Everybody stood up and sang the Malaysian national anthem, and some people cried. And I'm looking left and right. What is going on? Wow, these people are amazing. And I read a survey of Petronas employees. Why are you working at Petronas? And more than 50%, the top answer was for the country. Now, some people might laugh, but after seeing so much evidence myself, I'm tearing up right now. I'm feeling the emotion right now because of remembering that they actually do work at Petronas because they believe they're helping drive the economy of the country. And that's true. That is actually true. If there was no Petronas, Malaysia would have nothing to fall back to. So our main export is petroleum. Malaysia produces the highest quality petroleum because we have the least amount of sulfur in our oil fields. So the best part is we refine and we sell overseas, but we don't use our own petroleum. We buy from others. Yeah, we actually export that low sulfur content to overseas, because low sulfur content means you need to process it less. So it's cheaper to process. All right. So this is how some organizations have done it. You give them a reason to want to learn, to improve. And last but not least is sharing and learning from others. And how do we implement this? Well, in Accenture, we call it a cascading. You cascade your knowledge from top to bottom, whether you are in the office or you're at the project site with the client, or you are, you actually formally go and teach at the learning centers. So what can you do? Well, number one is you can already start creating communities of practice. Ask yourself, in my organization, within different departments, are there people who do the same kind of work? For example, secretaries. Okay, I got 16 departments, 16 secretaries. Can we create a community of practice, a digital community of practice, so that they can share their knowledge together, they can share with each other? So once upon a time in Accenture, we use this tool called Yammer. I don't know if it's still around. Yammer is like a social media, like an internal Facebook, where you can create small groups, and they were actually called COPs, communities of practice. Nowadays, WhatsApp, Telegram, WeChat, whatever, you can do that on your own. You can have a formal community of practice. You can even use Facebook, a secret group. Who says you have to pay for anything? Okay, and then celebrate expertise. If you have newsletters, if you have e-newsletters, you have a bulletin board, acknowledge and recognize the people who learn and teach within your organization. Now, there's one thing that I have not mentioned here, which I also recommend. Like every month or so, have a day where you invite one of your staff to teach something to the rest of the organization. Yeah, or maybe a small part organization. There is a few companies I know of where every Friday, for half an hour or 1 hour, people in the department will take turns to teach the rest of their department how to do certain things. While we were at Accenture, our team was 6 people. There were 2 learning coaches, 2 technical support, and 2 admin. So there's only 6 of us managing the whole learning center. But sometimes some of us get sick and we cannot come to work. So what we decided was we would actually learn how to do each other's work. We would actually learn how to do each other's work, so I don't have to call on technical support so often into the classroom when something goes wrong. I know how to restart the modem. Very simple stuff. So we actually reduced the amount of work that we had because we knew how to do it. We could multitask. Yeah, multitask here meaning I can do your work, you can do mine, in case we need to support each other. And what happens then? It creates a good team bonding, because now you are actually relieving somebody else's stress, unnecessary stress. Okay, so that's something you can consider as well. All right, we are up on the hour. What questions do you have first? Give me your questions. What questions do you have first? I'll give you 30 seconds to ask me questions in the chat. And I'm not sure, did I answer that question for you? More processes and SOP? Okay. If there are no questions, here's what I'm going to do. In the chat, I am putting a link. Okay. Everyone, yes, you'll get the slides. No worry. So there's a link. Please click on that link and you will come into this site called a Padlet. So if you've never worked with a Padlet before, I'm going to do this for you. Okay, everyone, please click on the link. Come in now. I'll give you 10 seconds. Click on the link and come in now. I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, when you are in, okay, you need to minimize your zoom and just focus on the browser that you've opened up. Click on that bottom right cross. When you click on that bottom right cross, it will open up a pad. Please write your name at the top of the pad, and inside you can already start typing something there. So please do that so that I can see that everyone is doing it. There's 45 people in the room. Let's have at least 20 or 30. Okay, good. All right, cool. So I put some of the main slides here, and I want you to answer this question in the pad. Now that you've seen today, you have experienced today a little bit. My question is, what will you do now? What will you do to implement some of these things? It doesn't have to be everything, but what will you do to implement these things? Tell me in the chat some of your ideas. What will you implement, or what do you want to implement at a small level or micro level? that doesn't take too much money, too much resources. Okay, so I'll give you about 1 minute to do that, and then we will say goodbye for the day. Okay, somebody's typing into the heading. The heading is your name. You can actually type into the text part. Look at what Sakuntia is doing. Sakuntia has the name in the top and then the text below. All right. You don't have to delete. You can still edit. Okay. Sakuntia says take turns in sharing some knowledge. Okay, you can do that within departments. Okay, you can mandate departments every week. Okay, everyone takes turns. In the beginning, it's difficult because they feel forced to. After a while, it becomes quite fun. Okay, Altaf says motivate managers to be part of the learning process. Motivate is one thing. Explain to them what's in it for them. Explain to them that when they get involved in the learning process, not only do they understand what their people are learning in training programs, they can also learn for free because their people actually teach them as well. And once you know what your people learn in training programs, you can actually monitor their growth. You can see, I see, his listening skills has improved. Let me coach him on his listening skills some more. Okay, Pon says create a platform, group of employees who perform the same job, can share best practices. Okay, good. So remember, it's values first, not process first. If you just create a WhatsApp group and invite everyone in, they will remain quiet. So you need to kick off the process by embedding those values first. Share what values already have. So Kantia says take turn, okay, introduce new skills of staff willing to learn. Makara says apply coaching with my team, sharing knowledge. Bonari says 124. What is 124? Okay, but what I'm saying is tell me specifically what you want to do. Coaching approach is the best, I believe. Yes. Teach them how to coach, and then coaching is satisfying because you don't actually need to put in a lot of effort. It's called leveraging, and then watch as they discover their own solutions and they move on. But it can also be a bit depressing when the coachee gets stuck. Yeah, then you move into mentoring mode. When they get stuck, then you move into mentoring mode. Will you be able to guide me more on coaching, please? Well, if you get in touch with us, we do have some coaching courses we can talk to you about, or you can self-learn. This is the century of self-learning. There's a lot online that you can learn about. But if you're asking me about how to implement a coaching culture, okay, that's a micro discussion. That this is a big part of, yeah. So that's a smaller discussion. Okay, people are sharing. Nice. Budanda says managers can gain commitment from employee and sharing knowledge. That's right. Ranita says I will share to my team what I've learned here. Thank you. So Imam says cross-culture sharing amongst cross-culture. You mean cross? Okay, I think it's cross-learning. So across department they can share. And I'm telling you, I didn't know about the B until much later, which is embarrassing. I was a trainer for so many years, and I didn't know the B existed. B for black, W for white. All right. Looks like we have a lot of good answers. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And I'm going to ask if there are any final questions before we go. What questions do you have? Please ask me now. You can ask in the chat. You can turn on your microphone. And then I'll answer what I can. Okay, doesn't look like there's any there. If you do want to ask questions after, you can always email us and we'll be happy to email you the answer. So I'm going to send the session back to Maradi. Thank you very much, everyone. I've taken an extra 6 minutes of your time. I hope you don't mind. But it's been very interesting having you share your experiences, your dreams with me. So I pray that you actually do get to make some changes in your organization. If at all you need our assistance, then call on us and let's see what we can do for your company. But for today, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to hand this back to Maradi. All yours, Maradi.